Hello students. So in the last lecture we have seen that what is plasmons, and then we tried to understand how the light is interacting with bulk materials, metal thin films, okay, or bulk metallic slab, and we come to know that there is a formation of surface plasmons. Then we have seen that there are different length scale in which the surface plasmons are can take place. Okay. So their electric field goes up to certain distance. Okay. And then we also seen that for the resonance of surface plasmons, we can achieve it by two different ways. So this is all about the uh, optical property of metallic thin films. Now we are interested in the optical properties of nanoparticle also. Okay, this is what our intention, that once we understand the optical properties of metallic thin film, we are also interested to understand the optical properties of the nanoparticles. Now before going directly to the optical properties of nanoparticle, one important aspect we have to understand, which is called as a extinction. Okay, so basically this slide which you are looking at is useful to understand the extinction. Okay, now you all are familiar with the common terminologies like absorption, transmission, reflection, scattering, right? But you are not familiar with the term extinction. Okay, so let us try to understand what is extinction, because once you understand what is extinction, then it will help us to understand the optical properties of nanoparticles, metal nanoparticles. Okay, so to understand the extinction, we are going to use a demonstration. Okay, so let us try to understand what is this demonstration. So demonstration using milk and ink suspension using a projector clearly shows the difference between extinction by scattering and extinction by absorption. Okay, so let us try to imagine what is this demonstration. Now you can see this figure. Okay, and in this figure what you see, this is a chairs where all of you can sit. Okay, this is a table, and this is basically a projector. Okay, so this is an optical projector, and you can see this is a screen. So where the what you can see, the image is in transmitted mode. You can see the image in transmitted mode because the bulb is inside this box, and you can keep something, some transparent material here, okay, on which you can write something, okay, so that it will get reflected by this mirror and you can project it. So this is an old kind of optical projector. Now what you see is a advanced projector where you can directly connect that projector to the computer, but previously, okay, it was not like that. So people are trying to use use this kind of optical projector. Okay, so you can see uh, that here is the space where you can keep different materials. Now we are taking three dishes. Okay, we are taking three petri dish, and we are taking different materials in this. Okay, in one dish, let us say we are taking water. Okay, in second dish we are taking milk, and in the third petri dish we are taking ink. Okay, this is your ink which you use in the fountain pen or that kind of an ink. Okay, and as I said, we are keeping this dishes on the overhead of the projector. So this is the overhead of the projector. Okay, simple thing is, okay, if I ask you, okay, how these liquids looks like from top. So in the top view, basically what happens, the light get reflected and come to our eyes, and it shows which kind of color this material has. For example, if we see water, then it is transparent, it is not showing any type of color. The ink what you are looking at is black in color. Okay, if you take black color, okay, black colored ink, and this is the milk which you can see in white color. Right, you all are agree with me, right? You can see this, it is shown in this image. Now suppose the same thing we try to look in the transmitted light, that is we on the bulb from this side, and then that light is get transmitted through this petri dish, and what you can see the image on the screen. So the image on the screen for all these three materials is looks like this. What you can see here, you can see here the water is still remains transparent. Okay, so both in the reflected wave, reflected light or transmitted light, the water is same, right? Ink, what you can see in the reflected light is black. Here also you can see it shows black color. But you see what happens with the milk. The milk which you are looking at the reflected light, it is white in color, right? It is white. But when the milk, when you are looking in the transmitted light, then you can see that it is black. Then what you can see, the milk is also black, like ink. Okay, so how to understand this? Okay, this is an important thing, how to understand this. So here basically this demonstration using milk and ink suspension using a projector, as I shown you, here is a projector, basically shows the difference between extinction by scattering and extinction by absorption. Okay, so when scattering takes place, the milk looks like white, but when there is an absorption take place, then it looks like a black. Okay, so let us try to understand this. The milk is a suspension of very weakly absorbing particles. Okay, so because there is nothing to absorb, so they are weakly absorbing particles, and it is a suspension of these particles. So milk is nothing but suspension of these weakly absorbing particles, which therefore attenuate light primarily by scattering. Okay, so when you see the milk from top side or in the reflected light, so the light gets scattered, okay, and what you see is the milk is white. Okay, right? But if you take India ink, okay, so this is a normal ink, but we generally its a scientific name is India ink, is a suspension of very small carbon particles which attenuate light primarily by absorption. Now you all are aware that if you take a carbon powder, okay, so the color of carbon powder is black, and therefore why it is black? Because light is getting absorbed by these carbon particles. Okay, so what you see black color in the reflected light is because of its absorption, because it has these carbon particles which can absorb light. So because the ink is absorbing the light, okay, you can see it has a black color. But in case of milk, it is not absorbing light, it is scattering light, and therefore what you see is the white color. Okay, now this experiment shows that merely by observing under transmitted light, it is not possible to determine the relative contributions of absorption and scattering to extinction. Okay, so just by looking in the transmitted light, or just by looking in the reflection light, we can't say the optical properties are same. You agree with this? Because it is same for ink and water, but in case of milk, we can't say that just by looking in the reflected light, we can't say the milk is white, because in transmitted light, the milk is black in color. The milk is black in color. So what is happening with the milk? What is happening with the milk? It means there is a relative contribution of absorption and scattering is taking place in milk. Okay, in ink, what happens? In the reflected light, light is also absorbed. In the transmitted light, light is also absorbed. Okay, and because the light is absorbed in the transmitted light, it shows black. But in case of milk, in the reflected light, it is white, but in the transmitted light, it is black. It means in case of milk, something happens which is not usual. So what is happening in case of milk? In case of milk, you can say that when the light is reflected from the incident from the top, and if we see the image in the reflected light, then it is white because it is scattering the light. All the light is get scattered by the milk, and you see the milk is white. But in case of transmitted light, the light get absorbed by the milk. Okay, the light get absorbed by the milk, and therefore milk do not allow the incident light to penetrate through the milk, okay, on the other side, and because of that the light is not reaching from which you have incident from the top, that light is not reaching from the bottom of the milk, and because of that you see that the milk is also black in color when we see in the transmitted light. Okay, I think you understand that for absorption you need, because water is transparent, because water don't have any kind of absorbing particles. Okay, and it don't have any particles which scatter the light. So in case of water, there is no absorption, there is no scattering, right? Okay, but in case of carbon ink, in case of ink, there is only absorption, there is no scattering. But in case of milk, there is a scattering in the reflected light and there is a absorption in the transmitted light. I hope you understand this experiment, and from this what I wanted to say is that there are some materials that both of these things happen, okay, depending upon the depending upon the view from which we are looking at the material. Okay, so in case of milk, there is a absorption is also take place and there is a scattering also take place. Okay, so a beam of radiation can be attenuated, reduced or lost not only by the absorption but also by scattering. So this is happening in case of milk. So if the loss of an electromagnetic radiation take place due to both absorption and scattering, then it is called as extinction. Okay, so this is very important. What is the meaning of extinction? So extinction is nothing but combination of absorption and scattering. Okay, so there are certain materials where both things are taking place at the same time. There is a absorption of light also and there is a scattering of light also. If the optical properties of that material, okay, vary, okay, with respect to absorption and scattering, then we have to call that it has an extinction. Extinction is a combination of both absorption and scattering. Okay, so if the light get lost due to both absorption and scattering, then it is called as extinction. So you have to keep in mind that extinction is a combination of absorption and scattering, right? And we can express the extinction coefficient. Okay, so it is called as the extinction cross section of particle, and it is represented as sigma x ext. So sigma ext is also called as sigma extinction, is nothing but the extinction cross section of the particle. Okay, so basically this extinction is depends upon the size of the particle. Okay, and that's why we are taking the cross sections of the particle, because these parameters are sensitive to the cross sectional area of the particle. If we change the cross sectional area, then it's a optical properties may get changed. Okay, so it is related, sigma extinction is related to the absorption cross section and scattering cross section of the particle, as sigma extinction is equal to sigma absorption plus sigma scattering. Okay, you agree with this? Okay, because as I said, the extinction is a combination of absorption and scattering. So the cross section, extinction cross section is equal to absorption cross section plus scattering cross section. Okay, so how to define this cross section, how to find this cross section? Okay, so sigma scattering, that is nothing but the scattering of light is take place. Okay, cross sectional scattering cross section is represented with sigma scattering, which is equal to P scattering divided by I incident. P scattering divided by I incident. What is the meaning of this? It is shown here. Okay, where the scattering cross section is equal to P scattering means total power which is scattered, divided by intensity of incident light, that is nothing but the density of the flux that falls on it. So if we incident the light, then how much scattering is take place? If we measure that, then what you are getting, okay, is nothing but the sigma scattering. Similarly, you can calculate the sigma absorption. So in case of sigma absorption, which is equal to P absorption divided by I incident. Okay, that is nothing but the absorption cross section is equal to total power which is absorbed by the material, by the particles, divided by the density of the flux that falls on it. Okay, then you can define these two, right? So what will be the value of sigma extinction? So sigma extinction is nothing but P extinction divided by I incident. But as I said, P extinction is nothing but P absorbed plus P scattering. Okay, and therefore we can define the sigma extinction as extinction cross section is equal to total power which is absorbed plus scattered. Okay, it is combination of both of these two divided by the density of flux that falls on it. Okay, so basically we try to understand what is extinction, and as you understand, it is a nothing but the combination of scattering and absorption. Okay, so why we try to understand this? Because something some kind of this situation is going to happen in case of metal nanoparticles. Okay, in case of metal nanoparticles, it has been realized that there is a absorption is also possible and scattering is also possible. Okay, that we will see as we are looking to the optical properties of metal nanoparticles. Okay, so here it is. So optical properties of isolated metal nanoparticles, and it is given by the Mia theory. Okay, Mia is the name of the scientist, so we call this as the Mia theory. Okay, or my theory. Okay, you can call as per your pronouns, but this is the name of the scientist. So you all are familiar with this. In 1857, Michael Faraday is a scientist basically who discovered the colloidal ruby gold nanoparticles. Okay, and he demonstrated that the nanostructure of gold under certain lightning conditions produces different colored solution. And you all are familiar that the gold looks yellow to all of us, but when we make the nanoparticles of gold, and if we have the colloidal solution of gold nanoparticles, then it looks like red in color. Let us say red in color. Okay, so why the gold nanoparticles are looks like red in color? That is what we are trying to understand. Okay, so in 1957, Michael Faraday first time synthesized this and shown and demonstrated to everyone that if you prepare the gold nanoparticles, then its a color is not gold, its a color will be red in color. Okay, so in 1908, the scientist Mia, okay, he explained the interaction of light with metal nanoparticles by solving Maxwell's equation. Okay, so basically classical electrodynamics. In classical electrodynamics, you can find there are four Maxwell's equation, and this Mia, okay, he's basically solved this Maxwell's equation by keeping different parameters, okay, and he tried to understand what is the how the light is interacting with the metal nanoparticles. Okay, so Mia predicted that the light interacted with metal nanoparticle is different. Okay, it is not in the same way as we studied in case of bulk metal. Okay, and this is the reason that the light interacted with the metal nanoparticle is different compared to the bulk metal. Therefore, the strikingly red color of the gold nanoparticle is different than the standard yellow color of the bulk nanoparticle. Okay, so what you see the color in the bulk gold, which is yellow. Okay, so there the light interacted in different way. And when you take an individual gold nanoparticles colloidal solution, then you can observe that its color is red in color. So this color change in color is nothing but is because of change in the interaction of light with the metal nanoparticles. So the Mia theory is applicable for spherical nanoparticles and its a surrounding medium. So basically there are a lot of kind of geometries are possible, but basically he restricted himself to avoid complexity. So he just imagine that if the gold nanoparticles are spherical in shape, and if he also take care about its surrounding medium, because in case of gold thin films we are also taking care of the dielectric media. Okay, or wherever we need, we are changing the dielectric media with the air, water or glass. Okay, so similarly the Mia theory is applicable for spherical particles and its surrounding medium. So if they are each homogeneous and can be described by their bulk dielectric function. So basically we need some parameters like dielectric constant of this surrounding and metal. So you can take this as a which is a dielectric constant for the bulk material. Okay, so basically he used all these parameter and he calculated the sigma extinction. Okay, he calculated sigma extinction for gold nanoparticles. So the general expression of the Mia theory, when the incident light wavelength is much less than the particle diameter. Okay, so suppose we have gold nanoparticles of radius capital R. So we have gold nanoparticles of radius capital R, and we all are aware that lambda is nothing but the wavelength of the light. When the 2R, that is nothing but the diameter of the gold nanoparticles. When the diameter of the gold nanoparticles is much smaller than the wavelength of the incident light. Okay, so when this condition is there, then this equation is fulfilled. This equation is satisfied. So what is this equation? So sigma extinction is equal to 9V. Okay, 9V. Okay, sigma m. Sorry, epsilon m raised to 3 by 2 divided by C omega epsilon 2 omega divided by epsilon 2 omega square plus epsilon 1 omega plus 2 epsilon m bracket square. Now what are these parameters? V is the particle volume. Okay, if you know what is the value of 2R, then you are able to calculate the volume of the particle. Omega is the angular frequency of the excited light. Okay, so omega is the angular frequency. C is the speed of light. Epsilon m is the dielectric function of the surrounding medium. If the surrounding medium is, in case of colloidal gold nanoparticles, if the nanoparticles are present in water, then water is your surrounding medium, and that you have to calculate. Yeah, so you know the dielectric constant for that material. Okay, so epsilon omega is equal to epsilon 1 omega plus I epsilon 2 omega, because we can see here, you can see epsilon 2, epsilon 2, epsilon 1. So what are these? So basically these are the real and imaginary part of the dielectric constant of the material. Okay, so material in this case is, let us say, gold. So if you take gold, then you must have the value of dielectric constant for that gold. Okay, so if you define that, then you have epsilon 1, that is nothing but the real part of the dielectric constant, and I epsilon 2, and all of these are the function of omega. So this is the imaginary part of the dielectric constant. So all these parameters are here, and if you put all these parameters, so with respect to angular frequency, you get a graph for extinction coefficient. Okay, so on y-axis you can put extinction coefficient, on x-axis you can put omega. Okay, and for the angular frequency, you can calculate, for each omega you can calculate the value of sigma extinction. Okay, so for more information about this, you can visit this paper, which is given by Jana et al. It is published in RSA Advances in the year 2016. The volume is 6 and page number is 86174. Okay, so I'm not going into much more detail of this Mia theory, because there are a lot of things again they get changed, because this is not the perfect theory. There are some limitations. Okay, so limitation is like this is only restricted to spherical nanoparticles. So suppose if you change this shape of the nanoparticles, then you have to add more corrections in this theory that you can find in this paper. Okay, so if those students who are more interested in Mia theory, they can read from this paper. Okay, now let us start to understand the optical properties of individual nanoparticles and how the light is interacting with these nanoparticles. Okay, so you can see, when the size of the metal nanoparticle is less than the wavelength of the incident light, the loosely bound electronic cloud of metals nanoparticle start to oscillate under the influence of an electric field which is associated with the incident light beam. Okay, so first, what is first condition? When the size of the metal nanoparticle is less than the wavelength of the incident light. Suppose this is the wavelength of the incident light. Okay, so this is the wavelength of the incident light. This is the wavelength of the, from here to here, this is the wavelength of the incident light. Now what you can see is that the size of this metal nanoparticle is much less than the wavelength of the incident light. If this is the case, then what is happening? The metal has a free electrons. Okay, this metal nanoparticle has free electron cloud. So this free electron cloud start to oscillate. So when the electric field is in the upward direction, okay, so you can see the electron cloud goes down. When the when the electric field is in downward direction, then you can see the free electron cloud, which is shown in the gray color, goes in the upward direction. So because the size of the nanoparticle is less than the wavelength of the light, the whole cloud of electrons which is present in the metal nanoparticle, it started to oscillate. Okay, so this is happening when the wavelength of the light is much bigger than the size of the metal nanoparticle. Therefore, the electric field of incident light polarize metallic nanoparticle and generate plasmons. Okay, so you can see this is the nanoparticle, and because the electron cloud goes in the downward direction, so there is a positive charges are present in the upward direction, right? And because of this, what it is representing, that the metal nanoparticle has got polarized. It is polarized. And why it is polarized? Because we incident light.